Welcome to the Seven Voice podcast. My name is Azeez, and this is the first episode of the podcast. I'm really pumped with the person you're going to be hearing his story today. He has been blind since he was 3 years old, and he's going to be sharing his story and his journey on how he was able to work 5 different careers, including with one of the biggest banks in Canada. In life, we face a lot of challenges, and in this current generation, I would say when many people face this kind of challenges, sometimes they give up. Sometimes they think they have to blame others. Today, I have a very special guest with me, someone that I really feel inspired by his story. I want you all to meet Mr. Tom Bissett. He's going to be the best person to tell us about his story. Thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Tom.
Okay,
Can you please introduce yourself to the people out there?
Introduce myself?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, my name is, as you said, Tom Bissett. I'm retired. I'm 69 now.
Okay.
And yeah, that's sort of the introduction.
Okay. I also want to thank you again for coming here today to share your story with us.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. You said you're 69 years old, and as you can't see, I believe, right?
Correct. I don't see it all.
Were you born this way, or it happened along the line?
I was about a little more than 2 years old when
Okay.
I lost my sight. It was caused by measles.
Measles.
Never found out the technical name. They were always referred to as the red measles. You don't see it too much now because people are vaccinated for it.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's when my eyes were damaged and my 1 ear was damaged.
So at the same time, you lost your sight and you lost one of your ears.
Yeah.
Wow. I would say a lot of people, one of the most important part of our organ is sight. I think many people, when they lose their sight, they kind of feel like they lose everything. Except if you're born that way, right? But for you weren't born blind. So you were
Right.
2 or 3 years when it happened.
Right.
Do you remember when it happened?
No, I don't remember. I have no conscious memories of seeing. I do know that it affects the way I imagine the world
Okay.
from talking to people who were born blind.
Okay.
Our concept of the world is different.
Okay.
And yeah.
So you said the concept, so when you speak to other people that are blind, you can feel like you're different a little bit. Is that what you're saying? Like your experience?
Yeah, yeah, our experiences are different. It's kind of interesting that, people who have never seen,
You don't know how to.
I even have trouble. It's almost like me. It's almost like you trying to explain to me what it's like to see. It's almost the same difference between us, who is somebody who has never seen, and even for a short time like I had.
Okay.
Big difference.
Okay. I understand. And you're 69 now.
Yeah.
You were blind when you were 2 years, 3 years old. So
Yeah.
you've been blind for over 65, 66 years, I would
Yeah.
say, right?
Yeah.
Do you have like a community that you like people that have the same kind of challenges that you have? Do you have community that you share things together, you have conversation?
Yeah. There is what we refer to as the blind community.
Okay. In
And
Ontario, in the whole Canada.
Huh?
Is it in Ontario? Is there a community in Ontario?
Well,
Is it a national community?
well, we have organizations like the Canadian National Institute for the Blind,
Okay.
who is kind of, I guess, an anchor point where every blind person can go to
Okay.
in Canada. So we have that sort of thing. But generally, blind community is just all the blind people that seem to get together, hang out, all that sort of thing. Now, I'm not a big part of it.
Okay.
I'm not sure why. I think it's just the things I do.
Personality or thing?
Well, no, I think it's more the things I do, the things I'm interested in.
Okay.
I think blind people. I think there's a certain comfort level hanging out with blind people,
Oh. Okay.
which to me makes no difference.
Okay, so it makes no difference that you're blind or not. You think that comfort shouldn't just be there for you because you're blind?
No, I just like I said, with blind people, they tend to hang together. A lot of them.
Okay.
And although I know many, many blind people,
Okay.
I don't spend a lot of time with them.
Okay.
And like I said, it's not for any, particular reason other than I think different experience.
Okay. So I know you when you started introducing yourself, you said you're retired. So you can only get retired if you have a career or you have careers you've worked. Can you tell us a little bit about first let's start with did you go to any school? Did you study? What did you study?
Yeah. So I went to school for the blind
Okay.
in Ontario, near Brantford, Ontario.
Okay.
Uh, it's now called the W. Ross McDonald School for the Blind.
Okay.
So they've existed for a long time, and I think most blind people, particularly other than the coastal areas in Quebec, pretty much in Canada, went to the school for the blind at Brantford.
Okay.
And so we got an education. We learned Braille. We learned to type. Um, and yeah, basic life skills. Uh, it was quite an experience. Like I said, it was a live-in school. You lived there 24/7.
Oh, okay.
Um, and so we had a lot of activities.
Like what kind of activities are we talking about?
Well, we would modify sports.
Oh, okay.
For example, hockey.
Hockey.
Yeah, we use a tin can.
Oh, okay. I get that.
Yeah, we use a tin can, and in the wintertime, if you wanted to find me, I was on the ice.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I in fact live on the ice. And we'd modify other ball games. We used to play one, we call it, well, I think now it's called T-ball. You put the ball in the stand. You don't have a pitcher, you just put the ball in the stand and whack it. And then a whole bunch of fun people scramble around the field trying to find it.
Wow. So did you enjoy it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that
Oh,
was
yeah.
fun. Your
Love-
teachers, are they blind as well?
No. No, all the teachers.
None of them?
I'm trying to think if we we had a visually impaired teacher, but she could see quite a bit,
So quite a bit. Okay.
like enough to read print and stuff, but still registered as blind.
Okay.
But no, most of the teachers were sighted, or all the teachers were sighted.
Okay.
And we learned the regular math, English, history,
Okay.
all that sort of thing.
And is that the only education, like formal education that you have, or you went ahead and go to university or college or anything?
I took 1 year of college after that.
Okay.
I got a scholarship from my high school,
Okay.
and so I paid for 1 year at college. And when I wanted to take the second year, I didn't have the money.
Okay.
And at that time, there was government services, but we could not access them directly. We had to go through the CNIB, Canadian National Institute for the Blind.
Okay.
and this is kind of an ironic story.
Okay.
So I
You
was
wanna share
studying.
it?
I was studying what they called motive power technician, which basically was mechanics.
Okay.
And so when I applied for the second year, the CNIB said, "Oh no, a blind person can't do that."
Oh.
So the irony of the story is, I didn't go back to college. I went and apprenticed as a mechanic.
Wow. So they look down on you thinking you're a blind person. Why do you want to be a mechanic?
And keep in mind, these are blind people making decisions for other blind people too.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
You know, if it's someone that has the two eyes and try to have that mindset or idea against you, we might say they don't know what you're feeling. They don't understand it, right?
Right.
But someone that is blind saying that, I think at that time, do you feel bad about it that they didn't give you the opportunity? What made you think you have to go learn it, like do the apprentice outside and learn how to do it?
Well, I was interested. My father was a mechanic,
Okay.
and so
So you love that from him. You get
Yeah.
that passion from him.
even before I went to college, I knew about engines. I knew how to use tools and all that sort of thing. So,
Wow.
he actually taught me quite a bit.
Okay.
I remember, this is a funny story. I did a brake job on the family car.
Okay.
Had to replace the disc and the shoes in the back, and so I got it all done. And my dad was off doing something else in the back or something. So I went and told him, "Hey, Dad, I'm all done. You can take it for a test drive."
Wow.
He goes, "What do you mean, me?" if I'm driving it, you're going with me.
Okay, so he wasn't surprised that you actually fixed it.
No, he had already taught me how to fix it,
I have to fix it. Okay,
bit by
wonderful.
bit. But that was the first time I did end to end by myself
Wow.
on that kind of job. Like I said, I found it was funny because like he was basically, you know, challenging me, that I had the confidence in my work that I would get in it and go with him.
Wow. At that time, when they kind of rejected you from getting that scholarship, did you have the opportunity of telling them that, hey, I know this even before I come to school?
No,
They don't give you the opportunity.
no, it was one of those things I think was just they just decided blind people can't do that.
Wow.
And I wasn't the only. I was not the only blind mechanic around.
So
It
there
certainly
were other people before that.
not a lot, but
Just one person.
there were people like in North America, Canada, and U.S. There were some blind people doing mechanics.
Okay. You went ahead and learned it yourself. Do you have what are the kind of people that come to you that, hey, help us fix our cars? Is it just regular people, or someone has to refer people to you? How did you get clients at that time?
Oh, I
even
worked for
trust you?
no, I worked for a couple of different businesses over that period
Okay.
of time. Regular garages.
How did they trust you to give the job? Yeah, because if one organization said they don't want to give you the scholarship to learn that, how did those companies give you the opportunity to actually work for them?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think I was just lucky that
Okay.
the right people were in the right place.
Okay.
And actually, what's kind of interesting about that in itself is there, CNIB did have people that would go around and try and find jobs for blind people. Like they go to factories or that sort of thing and try and, find jobs for blind people.
Blind people.
And I got it through the guy who was assigned in my district.
Okay.
He actually landed my first job for me.
Wow.
He was the one that convinced him to give me a try.
Do you
So,
remember his name?
Hmm?
You remember his name? The guy that
I
worked you for
don't
that
remember
first.
Gordon. I can't remember his last name offhand.
Shout out to Gordon if he's able to watch this video one day, probably.
Yeah, yeah. So it was kind of better. Like I said, it kind of ironic again because he was part of the organization that first said I couldn't do it.
Oh, okay. Wow. So
But he was one of those people that I
that
think
actually helped you.
he was looking for, he wasn't sticking to the regular sort of list of jobs that
Okay.
would be appropriate. So he reached beyond that,
Oh, okay.
not just for me, but for others as well.
That's really fantastic. Like,
Yeah.
even though today it's a good story to hear, but I can't imagine how you feel at that time going through that. Someone said no to you. You finally land your first job. It's a mix of, a little bit of disappointment for not getting that scholarship, but now you get a job that you actually love and actually came from someone, part of the people that said no to you,
Yeah.
the other opportunity.
Yeah.
So I want us to go, I still want to talk about your career. I know
Mhm.
you've mentioned about your mechanic. Your son, who's Nick, was the person that told me about your story, and I said I have to talk to you. He mentioned more than mechanic.
Yeah.
There's one that he mentioned that really surprised me, and I want to talk about it. I used to work in IT for a couple of years,
Mhm.
so I write code, I analyze it. I was a data scientist for a few years, and I know how challenging it is to be in that field, IT field, either writing code or programming or even being
Right.
a. Tell me a little bit. I know you work as an analyst for one of the biggest banks in Canada for many years, from what I heard.
Yeah.
Tell me about that story, please.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you how I first got onto that path.
Okay.
I had been working, but I wasn't making much money. I was in the piano business,
Okay.
tuning and repairing pianos. Um, I had spent a couple of years working for a Center for Troubled Youth.
Troubled you.
Yeah, teaching bicycle repair
Okay.
and that sort of thing, all to do with bicycles. And but like I said, I wasn't making much money at this point. Then I got married, started having, I had one child at that point, and I had to find something better.
Okay.
And an acquaintance of mine phoned me up and told me about a computer course for persons with disabilities.
Okay.
And so I applied
Is it in a university or college or just something you?
No, it was an independent sort of thing.
Okay.
The gentleman that set it up, sort of, what he had been doing was doing a lot of stuff to help different groups.
Okay.
Um, I think one of his first projects was one of his first projects was in the garment district. There was a factory. They were going to shut it down. He went in, organized the workers. They bought the factory and kept
Wow.
it open.
Wow.
And then he also was one of the guys who organized the Center for Troubled Youth.
Okay.
And then I found out about this course. I didn't know he was in charge of it
Okay.
at the time. But anyway, so I applied for this course for learning computers for people with disabilities. And part of the course, the last 3 months, I guess it was,
3 months.
was on the job training.
Okay.
They landed you like an internship, I guess they
Okay.
called it. So I actually did my internship at the Bank of Montreal.
BMO.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did my internship there, finished the course, started looking for work. It was about 6 months later. And one of the senior people in the department I had did my internship
Okay.
phoned me up and said, we had a university co-op student back out at the last minute. Do you want to do the contract? So I said, sure. And the rest was history.
Wow.
I was there for 25 years.
25 years with BMO.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the part that really inspired me when you told me about it, because I know you really see people with even their complete organ, eyes, to still want to stay in that field for that long. While you were working there, what inspired you to want to continue to do it for 25 years? Obviously, I would believe you're being paid better than where you were before, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
So definitely money must be one of the reasons. You have kids, you have family. But is there any other thing that you're passionate about with computer? Is there any other problem you were solving that you feel like, I want to continue to do this?
Yeah, no, when I applied for the course, I had never touched a computer.
Oh,
Knew absolutely nothing about them.
nothing. Wow.
And then, so I applied for the course. I was asked to come in 3 weeks ahead of time to learn basically how to run the thing.
Wow.
And so I was given a desk with a computer,
Okay.
a tape deck with instructions, and I had to do the rest. Just going through the tapes as it explained how to do it. Now, I guess I should put in here the technology I used,
Okay.
or we use.
Okay.
So basically, there's different software packages. The generic term is screen reader,
Okay.
and it does that. It doesn't just read the screen. I mean, you have full control over where your cursors are.
Okay.
It's the one I use, and probably the most popular one in the world is
Okay.
called JAWS, made by a company called Freedom Scientific, based
Okay.
out of Florida.
Okay.
That company was started by a blind vet. He came back. He lost his sight in Vietnam. Came back. He got interested in computers, and he started the screen reader.
Wow.
And it evolved over the years. So when I got there, it was pretty good. It was still text-based.
Okay.
We hadn't got to Windows yet. That was pre-Windows days.
Free Windows.
So when I started working for the bank, I started with mainframe programming
Okay.
and writing applications for the mainframe. And so that was, I just was, when I started the course, I was interested. I liked doing this, and I liked doing the programming. You did develop it. So, I mean, there was time you'd be struggling with a program, you can't figure out what's wrong,
to fix something.
and all of a sudden you're there and having your morning shower, and all of a sudden,
Oh my
you go on to
goodness!
work
So you
again.
feel like that too?
Yeah.
Let me share one
Yeah.
one story when I was working in IT. So there was a project I was working on, and I wrote the code to give me what I need, and it doesn't work. So that means what I'm writing is not the right one. And I called one of my friends who's better than me when it comes to programming and writing code, and he told me he'll figure it out tomorrow, Azeez. So I've been on it for like 4 hours that day. So I went to bed like I think 12 a.m. And 2 hours after, I think it was around 2 a.m., I just got out of bed, like I rushed out of bed, went to the computer, and wrote that code. And it was the code that I need, and it worked. That day, my wife was like, "What is happening to you?" So when you said it now, like you're in the washroom, you're showering, and you remember the code, like, yeah, this is how you do it.
Yeah.
It kind of just brought back that memory of the exact day when I feel like that as well.
Yeah.
So does that happen all the time, or is just like? But I think it happens most when you are working on something for a long time and you couldn't figure it out. I think that's when you kind of get that kind of support, I would say, mentally.
Yeah.
When you're showering or when you're just driving, it will just come into your head and you go there. How often does that happen to you when you're working in IT?
Oh yeah, not that day, and I think that was one of the things I liked about it as well. Just the challenge; it was always there, in your mind somewhere, and as I said, so yeah, so I did the mainframe programming. Oh, I did about 5 years. I did that, and then moved in. Well, Windows came along.
Okay.
And that was a new challenge
Now
of its
it's
own.
more modern now.
Yeah. Windows came along, and that was a challenge because our software wasn't ready.
Wow.
So there was a.
Tell me about that. How do you move into Windows? How were you able to navigate that as well?
Well, I moved into it because they put it on my machine.
You have no option, right?
No. But again, so I didn't start right in with Windows. It took about 6 months for the screen reading company to catch up.
Okay.
One of the good things about that experience for them too is at that point they started working in partnership with Microsoft.
Interesting.
So from then on, they knew what was coming and they had it ready for us.
Oh, okay.
Which made life a lot easier.
Okay. But 6 months is still a long time for you to wait, right?
Well, I still had be able to use my computer as a dumb terminal for the mainframe.
Okay.
So it wasn't like I had nothing to do. It was just awkward with documentation and stuff, with being converted, to Word and that sort of thing. So it was a trying time in some ways, but eventually once the screen reader caught up, started learning Windows, then we started being introduced to
the new technology.
new softwares, that sort of thing. We switched from a lot of the area I was in. We were supported technical support for HR.
Okay.
So then they got a new software package for HR,
Okay.
PC-based one. So that's sort of my first look at IT, I guess, the actual,
The actual
software, and
do you
not
write
just
code?
mainframe programming.
You write code as well, right? You do coding
Yeah.
in between?
Well, on the mainframe, that's all I did was coding.
And you told me you were there for 25 years. You're 69 now.
Yeah.
When did you stop working with BMO?
5 years, 18, 2018, I guess it was. 5 years ago.
That's like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So there should be some new technology, maybe programming languages that you used recently during the end of your career with BMO. How challenging was it for you to catch up? Because there are a lot of things that happened in the last 10, 20 years in technology world, in programming, in coding, that the development was so fast, like compared to how you started 25 years ago. How easy were you able to kind of cope with such fast development?
Yeah, that was tricky. And it also came with a lot of challenges, kind of their own. Although I had already had some of those challenges. Like I said, when we moved off the mainframe to the PC-based, first version of the software we used, I had access to it. They updated it, and all of a sudden my screen reader wouldn't work with it.
Okay.
Then they upgraded again, and now I could work with it. But by then, I'd already started looking for another position.
Okay. Within IT as well, right? Within the technology side of it.
Yeah, so I applied for a position. We were then supporting self-service.
Okay.
So we like online banking and all that stuff.
Okay.
Now I actually did work on the online banking, but I worked on some of the other associated programs and that sort of thing.
Okay.
And yeah, for the most part, it wasn't too bad. I'd learned basic, I knew basic programming, Visual Basic. I knew some C++ kind of stuff.
C++.
And
One of the programming language that I ran away from. So it's
I could never
interesting.
really write code in it very well, but I could read it,
Okay.
so to speak. And then I was assigned to, I ended up babysitting a big software package.
Okay.
And then we were going to upgrade it. Well, we did upgrade it. But that was, again, ran into a lot of challenges with that. So I'd spent, I don't know how long now, but quite a amount of time getting the project off the ground.
Okay.
All the documentation and that sort of thing that needed to be done, took care of all that. And then when it came time to actually start the install in the development area and document the install, that sort of thing. When we documented it, you had to, document everything, every little step, every
as well?
screen prints and instruction,
Yeah.
like even down to, you can't assume the people to press OK. You got to tell them, OK, now you press OK. So,
Wow.
so these documents are like maybe 150, 200 pages long.
That's what I want to say. Like, it's always lengthy when you're writing such, for any programming, for any software to write the documentation, it's not easy. You're able to do that as well.
And so when I went to install on the development area, they had upgraded their they'd moved from hardware to virtual servers.
Okay.
And my screen reader wouldn't work on the virtual server.
Ah, God.
And I was already knee deep in the project. Now, this is where, I wasn't alone in the sense that I wasn't having to fight my way through it all.
Okay.
My colleagues were really supportive.
I actually want to ask about your colleague.
Yeah, they were extremely supportive.
Are they blind as well?
No.
None of them.
No.
So in that department, you're the only person.
There was a couple other blind people in the band.
Okay, but in your department?
Not in my area.
Oh. How did you work with them? How did you collaborate with them? Because is there any time you feel, being judged because of the blindness, or is there any time you went through that?
I don't know. I had very little problem with my colleagues. I found most of them just, accepted,
Who you are.
accepted me and the way things were.
Okay.
So, like I said, where I was going with this last project. So when I went to do the install, I didn't have access to the server.
Okay.
So I had to go to my team lead and my manager and go, what do we do now? So I guess they got it together with HR, human resources, and that sort of thing. Well, they hired a lovely young lady who was waiting for training.
Okay.
So they got her to sit with me all day while we did the installs, took the screenshots, all that stuff, and compiled that all together.
And she was very helpful?
Oh, yeah. Oh, she was great.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Not everybody can help, in that sense. It's, I think, having a feel for the needs of who you're working with. And so we delivered it. It worked.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah, it turned, and actually that was the only year I got a better than average rating for my work. And what the one HR lady said, was you didn't quit, you didn't walk away from it.
Wow.
And so we were, and we got it done on time.
Wow.
And on budget.
I guess that HR doesn't know that you don't give up on things, because with what you've been discussing with me over the last couple of minutes, it shows you when you start something, you don't give up on it. And not a lot of people have that kind of mindset, even when they don't have any, challenges like what you have.
Right.
People give up easily these days. Even despite all that, you still stay on course. Like, and I want to, I will still come back to your career, especially the piano part, but I want to go a little bit personal, right? Tell me, Tom, as a father, Tom as a husband, Tom as a friend, how do people see you? How do you, like your kids? How do they see you? Obviously, Nick told me a lot of good things about you, but he might not be telling me the truth. So I want you to tell me how the experience of being a father, of being a husband, of being a friend, of being a family leader.
Uh, yeah, that's kind of hard
To explain?
to nail down or. Um, Actually, at this point, I think I'd like to go back a little further.
Okay.
And just talk about, I think, what made me the kind of person I am.
I'll
And
be
that
glad
was
to
my
know
parents.
that. Okay.
And so my parents were great. I don't remember my parents ever saying to me, no, you can't do that. Like as far as accomplishing a task. I remember as a kid, my mom making me to, help clean the house. I'd whine and like a usual kid, 5 years old or whatever. And her response was, you got to learn this. You're going to have to take care of yourself one day. And my dad, same kind of attitude. It just was, work. He was a mechanic by trade. He was a do-it-yourselfer around the home. And he involved me in almost everything. We always had a garden, so I always had my own little patch. We, work around the house, fixing, building. I was always involved. And we got a new well drilled, had to dig a trench from the wellhead to the foundation. So got that done. Then we had to cut a hole through the foundation. My dad gives me a sledgehammer and a chisel.
Wow.
And I said, why don't we just go down the rental? We get an air chisel. We'd be through there in no time. Well, he said, give it a go. He was a funny guy. Give it a go, and he'd come by once in a while and check on me, and well, you're getting there, you're getting there.
You can do it.
And I'm still going, yeah, but we could be done by now. Because I'm laying on the ground, hanging over the side of the trench, cutting his holes. Well, I ended up cutting the hole in it. But that's what I mean. He just involved me with everything. Like I said, he taught me how to fix cars, use tools, and I think that gave me, my mom and my dad gave me the skills and the confidence.
Wow.
I think that's where it comes from.
I like that you actually decided to take that story back to your parents.
Yeah.
Because even though you haven't really mentioned how you were able to be a good dad, but I know where the story will be now because your parents kind of, they didn't let you feel left out. You didn't feel like you're different. They want to treat you like their son that can do everything when they teach you. And I'm pretty sure that skill set, that thing they put in you when you were young, I think is part of what makes you successful in everything you've done, right?
Oh yeah, I think so. Because I attribute, I got to do so many things in my life. Wow. And even with my parents as young, like I said, I was involved, I was never left out. Never left out.
So
always got, they always involved me. We used to be fairly active camping and stuff when I was young.
Oh, okay.
Remember we went on a hike.
Wow.
We were walking along this trail on a cliff.
Wow.
And the trail ended. So we either had to walk back.
Wow.
Or climb up. There was no going down. There was like 100 feet down. And there was
hiking.
Sheer drop.
How did you
I'm hanging on to I got my hand on my dad's arm.
Okay.
On his back, whatever, following along.
Wow.
So we climbed up to the next level, got out of there. I went first. Mom was in the middle.
Wow.
So she was kind of, she wasn't that athletic, I think.
Okay.
So, it was a matter of me having to give her a hand up and Dad make it through her feet in the right place. And,
Yeah.
but we did all that kind of stuff, and like I said, always involved. And I think that's where I got the skills and the confidence, and that carried forward. And I
Carried
think
forward.
then with my own family, the same that attitude from my parents carried forward.
Mhm.
Watching Nick develop growing up and his different jobs and doing that sort of thing, and
Yeah.
he went to college for I think one term or maybe it was a year, I can't remember. And it's like, Dad, I can't do this. But I knew he was interested in photography,
Wow.
and that stuff. Feedback from other people on his work.
Okay.
People liked his work. So we got to that point, and it's like, okay, take the rest of your education money, buy some equipment, and
And
see
study.
what you can do.
Wow.
And he ran with it.
And is like, I like the idea that you brought that what your parent gave to you in terms of supporting you.
Mhm.
You brought it down to your kids, right?
Yeah.
Was there, well, as a parent, we always want to be part of our kids' journey.
Mhm.
When they're growing up, they want to go for dancing class, soccer class. Were you able to do that as well?
Oh yeah. Um, like participate with them or just
Yeah, like taking them for soccer classes.
take them.
Or,
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. Took them swimming and soccer and gymnastics, taekwondo.
Wow.
Both the kids did that.
That's
So yeah, we kept them busy, and that was that was sort of, as parents we thought that was important to keep the kids busy. Not too
that's
busy. They needed their own
Well,
life.
at least let them know
But,
you're part of
yeah.
it as well, right?
Keep them involved and that sort of thing. So yeah, we managed to do all that.
Okay, I want to go back now to work because I know an average person spend probably close to 40-50% of their time at work sometimes.
Yeah.
So how did you get to work? Because I know when you were working as an analyst 25 years or almost 29 years ago now, plus when you quit, when you retired, you have to get to work. There's no work from home at that time, I believe.
No.
Did you ever work from home at all?
In fact, when I started there, we didn't even have a land.
So
we put the land in while I was there.
wow, so you have to go to the office.
But I traveled all over.
How did you navigate through daily transportation, going to work,
Just transportation,
transit?
Take the bus, the subways. You learn it.
You learn it, but is there any time where you feel like, you know what, I don't want to do this? Maybe you're in traffic, you're going to work in the morning, it seems like it's taking longer. Is there any time you feel like you don't want to continue to go to work?
I don't think I ever felt that way. I might be annoyed some days.
Okay, I mean that's human. We're all human. Sometimes we just don't like that exact day, right?
Yeah. But I mean, generally speaking, no, I had no problem. And again, it's because I was always active.
Wow.
I think it's because I was always active. And I moved to Toronto in 1980 from London, Ontario.
Okay.
So getting around London, actually my parents' house was just outside the city, where there was no public transit. So after I graduated from high school and now I lived at home all the time, if I wanted to go into the city, I'd either have to wait for a ride or I picked up the habit of hitchhiking.
Wow.
So I used to hitchhike in and out of the city all the time.
Wow.
And then once in the city, take buses or whatever. But I had to hitchhike in and out. I spent two summers, I guess it was, literally just hitchhiking around. I didn't get too far because I didn't have any money to speak of. I had to try and make some money on the road and all that sort of thing. But so I pretty much covered Ontario.
Okay.
And for about almost 2 months of summer, sleeping outside, camping, fishing, working, meeting people, hanging out with people. It was quite an experience.
Fishing.
Oh yeah.
You're quite like an adventurous person, right? You do a lot of things, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So,
I grew up fishing.
do you have any friends that have the same passion and energy like you that you think being around that person, either friend or family member, apart from your parents, because obviously when you move out of home, you don't see them all the time quite often anymore. Do you have any friend, family member that was close to you that they have the same drive and passion that you think kind of motivate you as well?
uh, um, I don't know. As far as, I mean, I guess I don't know where to go with that. I guess I have. Well, I'm into music,
Okay.
and so I have friends that I play music with and stuff.
Okay.
So there's people like that. Uh, and I have, variety of friends
Okay.
that I've met over the years and
Okay.
that sort of thing. So as far as that goes, but as far as coming from the same experience, not really.
Not really.
Um, and I think that's sort of when I mentioned earlier how, I know a lot of blind people,
Okay.
but I don't actually
I
hang
know,
around
yeah.
with a lot of blind
Yes.
people. And again, I think it's different life experiences. Like, I don't know, I haven't met any other blind people hitchhiking around in the summertime in
Wow.
Camden.
So you're one of a kind.
Well, I know I'm not one of the kind, because especially these days with the internet, you find out about all these people that no one ever hears of.
That's true.
But they are heroes in their own life. Like, they just
That's why
do
we
all
are
this
hearing
stuff.
your story. I'm sure a lot of people would never imagine that someone with this issue with their sight can work as a system analyst for 25 years, work as a mechanic, and then that would take me to the third career that I believe I remember you mentioned. You say you were a piano tuner.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about that because that's to me sound more of a passion than a career. What does it? How do you do that? How do you get into that?
I got into it because I moved to Toronto.
Okay, you said you like music actually, so
Yeah.
I'm getting the connection
Yeah.
now.
But yeah, so I moved to Toronto because I had a girlfriend here,
Okay,
and that didn't work out.
okay,
Well, I shouldn't say it didn't work out. We didn't get married, but we're still friends to this day.
wow, wow.
um, so
Is
I
she
moved
blind
here.
as well? Sorry, was she a blind
She
person?
was a blind girl, yeah.
She was a blind person.
She worked for IBM for a number of years
Okay,
as a typist and stuff. Um, so yeah, so I moved here, and we had a friend, or I met him through the blind people here, like
okay,
Maria and Charles is his name. He was an old guy, old piano tuner,
okay.
kind of rough around the edges, but a real character.
Wow.
And so I was looking for work, and he was actually helping me by, you know, helping me with direction to find different businesses where I could apply
Okay.
for the mechanics and that sort of thing. And just because I was hanging around and wasn't having any success getting a job, I ended up helping him out in the shop.
To learn how to do the piano.
Because I already knew how to use tools and everything. So
Okay.
that part of it, was second nature. It's like,
Wow.
and then at some point he said, well, you better learn how to tune. So he taught me how to tune.
Okay. And I know Nick mentioned that you actually you helped one of the popular piano guy in globally, I think. Do you remember the person? He mentioned a name, I believe. One of
Oh,
the
that
people
taught
you
me?
helped. That taught you, and one of the people you helped to tune their piano, right?
Oh.
I think his name is Peterson, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Oh.
So you want to talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah. Had a contract with some of the big hotels, taking care of their pianos.
Okay.
One of them was Park Plaza. It's not there anymore.
Okay.
It was Bloor just west, And anyway, so yeah. So I got a special call. We got guy coming in tomorrow. I gotta get the piano ready. And this was a piano was a piece of crap.
Oh, yeah.
So I get there and I find out, yeah, Oscar Peterson is supposed to play the piano.
Wow.
And, uh, like I said, it was a piece of crap to begin with.
And now when you hear that name, does that make you feel like, I got to make it work, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Dear, well, I made it work.
Okay, that's good.
Best I could. Like I said, it was not a good piano. It really was never maintained well. And I had been through the ringer a few times, I think. But I didn't get fired, so I don't know how he made out. But yeah, that was kind of nerve-wracking,
Wow.
really, when it come down to it, because just trying to get it ready and knowing who's going to play it. Oscar Peterson.
Wow. So let me ask you a question, Tom. You've done a lot. Do you feel like, and people like you, like passionate people, very active, no matter their age, they don't feel like they retired? Is there anything now that you're doing or you want to do, either teaching people any of the things you've been doing over the last 30, 40 years? Do you have that passion of, I want to teach people how to do this? Either IT, either how to, in their system analyst, if there's anything you feel like you want to teach people. Is there anything you consider you want to do in that realm? Teaching people things?
It crosses my mind.
Okay. Which of them actually to teach? Which of them do you feel like you want to teach?
Yeah, but it's I don't know. It's part of like how to get into it in some ways, and like
get into teaching people.
Yeah, like one of the things that interested me, but never really got into, was maybe trying to teach newly blind people.
Okay.
How to survive, like household, cooking, cleaning, that sort of thing. But I tend to, even in some ways, okay. So cooking, for example, I don't think I would be accepted in the mainstream teacher sort of thing because of the way I cook, which is probably dangerous. My favorite kitchen cutting tool.
Okay.
Is a Chinese cleaver. One of those big rectangular metal things.
Yes.
I love those things.
So it's definitely going to be scary to them, I think.
But I think mostly people that I've known just use like a little paring knife and chop things up with that, even though it takes 10 times as long.
So you know how to cook as well. Do you think you're good at cooking?
Ask my son. He had to eat it for a lot of years.
For him to eat,
I can cook.
For him to eat for many years, of course, it's apart from being eating your parents' food, I believe it's good.
Yeah.
So now you said you don't know if they're going to accept you. Don't you think you are actually looking down on what you could do? Remember many years ago when you said people think, can a blind person be a mechanic? For me, I think it's easier to say a blind person cannot be a mechanic than to say a blind person cannot teach people how to do things. So I think you could teach people how to do things. I think you did it you were with a bank for 25 years, one of the biggest banks in Canada. I don't think you were there because they're kind of having some sympathy or empathy for you, for your situation. I think you actually did a good job with them. That's why you were there that long.
Right.
I would say if it's something you're looking at, like teaching, starting online, recording videos and putting out there for, as you said, for blind people. You never know who will watch that video and they will start doing things. Imagine if the person that came around that built the screen reader that you said you use didn't think of, I need to help blind people. There might not be that to help you with your job. So I would say, give it a try. Like you could teach people in that realm. And so is it only cooking or how to navigate life for blind people that interests you? Because I asked that question because I want to know, is there anything next for Tom?
Right. Yeah. I'm not a good teacher.
Why did you think so?
I don't know, because I don't know what it is. I paid attention to other people teaching.
Okay.
But somehow when I'm teaching, I'm not getting it across. somehow.
Okay.
And I don't know how else to put it. Well, that's sort of what it boils down to. I just can't seem to get it across.
I get it. I think I understand what you're trying to say, but still, I would say give it a shot, especially for things you've done.
Yeah.
Understand? Do you like over the last many years, I would say 10, 15 years, social media has been something that's everyone have to be on it. Are you on any social media? Do you do anything on social media?
Nope.
Is there any reason?
I have a Facebook account
Facebook
and I
account?
have a Twitter account.
Okay. Have you done
And I
anything on
probably
those two
visit
platforms?
them 2, 3 times a year.
2, 3 times a year. You just go there to post something or to just
Actually, usually I go there to look up something.
okay.
You know, something is on Twitter, so I go there, look it up. Same thing with Facebook.
Okay. But you've never put anything there yourself.
Yeah, I don't really do much there. You know, there's a couple. There's a band I play with,
Okay.
and they post videos up there. So
Okay.
that's about the only thing I do on Facebook. Go in to listen to their videos.
To listen to the videos. Okay. I think that might be one of the best places for you to start. Like start what you believe you're passionate about now to do for people.
Yeah.
And these days, what do you do? How do you spend your day these days? Like now you've been retired for 5 years.
Yeah.
Over the last 5 years, have you got into anything that looks like a career or something you want to just do, or you're just enjoying life? How do you enjoy life?
Kind of enjoying life.
Okay.
I still have a passion about music, so
Music.
I play music.
Okay.
In the nice weather, it's hard to practice in my apartment because
Okay.
the sound carries too much.
Okay.
So when the weather's nice, I go out busking.
Okay.
And so I play music there. I play music in the band with a couple bands whenever they got a gig.
Wow.
So yeah, I like the music. Other than that, I drive myself crazy by what do you call it? A news hound. I just can't leave the news alone. I gotta know what's going on everywhere. And everything. So I spend way too much time following news.
News. I don't think you spend way too much. I think you would
No,
just
no,
want to get yourself updated about life.
I stay away from mainstream news.
Okay. So what kind of news do you see you spend?
Well, you know,
like which media outlet do you?
a lot of I spend a lot of time on YouTube.
YouTube. Okay.
So there's a lot of guys out there that put out interesting stuff.
Okay.
And they follow the news.
Okay.
And their perspective is different than mainstream.
Okay.
A lot of them I find very credible, more credible than mainstream.
Okay. I mean, I understand the mainstream these days, they just try to put what will sell most,
Yeah.
not the actual facts
Right.
about what is happening.
I like there's one guy I followed and I like his, they tell a story, not the story.
That's good.
So I spend way too much time doing that.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I spend my time.
The time. Okay.
With that, the music, and that sort of thing. So, like I said, I like playing music.
So, has music taken you out of Canada before or anything? Have you been out of Canada before, actually?
No, well, I went to Bermuda once. That's where my wife was from.
Okay.
So I was there. That's where we got married.
Okay, that's
We had a
wonderful.
garden wedding January 1st in Bermuda.
Wow, that must be beautiful, right?
Yeah.
So that was the only time you went out of Canada.
Well, I've been to the States,
Okay.
but
So
that's it.
those two, you didn't travel more out of the country. What about within the country? Do you do any traveling, either with the music band or just you trying to enjoy the country, to go around the country? Did you do that? Like travel around Canada or
Oh, well, that was the beginning of the beginning and the end was my hitchhiking days.
Oh, okay.
Trying to hitchhike around and like I said, but it, didn't have any money to speak of, and so travel was slow, right?
Okay.
We got a good camping spot with good fishing. I'd hang out there
Wow.
because at least I could eat. But that's all the traveling I did.
Okay.
Like I said, some travel in the States, and I've been eastern, but I haven't been west of
Of Canada.
Manitoba border.
Okay. Is there anything that you see that is different now with the way people see life now? I know you said you stay up with the news, with news from YouTube and everything.
Mm.
Growing up, if you look back to like 30, 35 years ago, what do you think is different with the way youth or even blind people in general that they live their life? Do you see differences from when you were growing up to, or now? What was different that you think you noticed?
Uh, I think for blind people in general, social media has helped a lot.
Okay.
It helped, I think, build a larger
Community?
community.
You think it would have helped you more when you were growing up if there was social media at that time?
Oh, yeah, when I was young, I mean, there was, you know, very little. The only connection I had really to, say, the blind community was from anybody I knew from school.
Okay.
Like, we were spread all over the place. So it wasn't like there was, there would have been a couple people in London. I knew a couple people, I guess. Didn't have a lot to do with them. But again, I was kind of busy, you know, after school, after I graduated from high school, and then, you know, I just got involved with the regular community, hung out with guys I met, and, you know, that sort of thing. Wasn't anything formal,
Hmm.
but yeah, even then it's like, yeah, I met guys, I met friends, and made new friends, and
Through social
again,
media,
we'd went
right?
camp, we'd have camping weekend camps and that sort of thing.
Okay.
We had a camp just outside of the city that we'd all gather at on the weekend and
Okay.
party and that sort of thing. So that's kind of how, I guess, how I spent, you know, my time, and not a lot of contact with the
With people.
Whereas, like I said, now with social media, like I'm constantly getting emails about events
Okay.
and things that are going on, and a whole variety from entertainment to, you know, learning opportunities and sharing opportunities. And yeah, there's a lot going on. I think that helped a lot.
Do you think there are things that you want government to do more now to help blind people? Is there anything you feel like they could do better?
Uh, yeah, employment's always a problem.
Okay.
Um,
It was a problem for you, but you still were able to manage it. Not a lot of people will be as determined as you. But do you think what other thing you think you could do to kind of help blind people or anyone with because you have two things. You one of your ears is not working very well, and two eyes. So some people have the eyes, but they have issue with their ears. What do you think the government could actually do to Canadian government to actually still continue to help people?
well, again, you know, there is a lot of help.
Okay.
Um, um, as far as the government goes, yeah, they offer a lot of services, but
Not well managed.
I think, yeah, partly but not well managed.
Okay.
And I think blind people, well, that's not fair. People, I mean, we're all different, and
Okay.
we all have different needs, and so you get groups of people like blind people, wheelchair people. Now, there's two groups classified as disabled,
Okay.
both having extraordinary different needs, and we often, so there's government websites that have job offerings for persons with disabilities.
Okay.
98% of blind people can't do, like driving truck.
Okay.
This sort of thing.
Okay.
And so sometimes we get lost in the fray.
Oh, okay. I get it.
And again, I'm not up to date on what goes on as far as, what government covers, what they subsidize, what they do and don't do anymore.
Okay.
Back in the 80s, back in the 70s, I guess. You recall when they turned down my application for college.
Okay.
We didn't have direct access to the government.
Okay.
So,
Do you have that access now?
oh yeah.
Okay.
And back in the 70s, we started fighting for that access.
For that access. Okay.
Now, I was involved in that stuff back in the day,
Okay.
joining a lot of these groups, trying to organize ourselves, get government to listen, And we did get a change. ID was an issue
Hmm.
because one of the major IDs is driver licenses. Well, blind people didn't have them.
My God.
So we had to fight to get a government ID
Highly.
um, outside of that. So that happened. I mean, lots of things happened.
Hmm.
And it was, like I said, there were a variety of groups that were formed and dissolved and formed and dissolved. But the goal was to open up the services, open up access to stuff, and basically just make life easier for blind people.
I think your story should, if any government agencies watching this, I think they should know that there are a lot of things that blind people can do, but the society think they can do it. Because I think when you were told you can't work as a mechanic, that was the perspective of people at that time. You're the evidence to say, yeah, we can do it. So I hope a lot of people that are watching, listening to this, and they're going through any challenges, either they're blind or they're deaf or something, there is opportunity for them to still excel in life. You work as a system analyst for 25 years. That's quite amazing for people. Even people with two eyes, they don't stay that long working in that field, to be honest. I really appreciate you sharing your story with me today. I'm quite sure a lot of people that will watch and listen to this, they will take a lot of not only motivation but more of inspiration from your story, and then they will go out there to achieve their goal. There will be challenges, there will be obstacles, but with pure determination and passion, I believe anyone can succeed. So I truly appreciate your time today, and thank you so much, Tom, for giving me this opportunity to have a chat with you.
Well, thank you.
All right.
For giving me a chance to tell my story.
Thank you so much.
Because I think it's one of those things that's nice for people to understand that, yeah,
And hear it.
blindness isn't a world of darkness.
Wow.
It's,
That's powerful.
It's not a world of darkness.
It is not a world of darkness. That's powerful. I thank you again. Thank you so much for your story. It's such a powerful story as well. And I'm sure whatever you're going to be doing, you're going to either teaching that you said you're not sure if you can teach. I think if you give it a go, I think you can do anything. I think you can do anything. All right.